Okay, so about me, I work at Key Value Software Systems. It's a company in Cochin. Um, I use Paratos as a daily driver. I work in the security field at Key Value Software Systems. Mm, yeah, I think that's pretty much about me. You can contact me at Shawn Mathew at pm.me. I'm going to show the slide again towards the end. So don't worry. Um, well, the focus of today is on cybersecurity. Okay, so I was saying, all the code that you can see is made by humans so far. So, and we also know humans are not perfect. So, which means no matter that means literally anything is hackable because humans are not perfect. No matter how secure it is, it's always hackable. That's what you need to get in your mind. Okay, so this is usually how some kind of software is deployed. You have a developer who's probably overworked, sits up late all night, looks in a Stack Overflow, open source code, creates a program, um, probably compiles a lot of libraries together with it, runs it on a computer, goes to network and to the internet. So as a hacker, um, you can find flaws at any stage of the step of this process. You can either attack, you can even directly attack the developer. It's called social engineering. You can attack the code that he made. There could be errors in the logic. Maybe maybe you could try transferring -1 rupees into someone else's account. So that is or there could be problems with the libraries. Okay. Um, so if a library is infected, all the programs that depend on the library are going to be affected. So you might want to look out for problems with libraries. And then you can also attack a computer system, maybe the operating system. I hear Windows is very good at that. I mean, to be attacked, of course. Um, then you could play with the network. Or you must have heard of all those Wi-Fi attacks and everything. And then the internet. All kinds of weird stuff happen on the internet, like denial of service attacks. So, yeah, have you ever found our college website very difficult to access, or maybe the KTU website that's very difficult to access during peak hours? It's the same thing that happens to um, it's the same thing that happens to it happens in denial of service attacks. You launch a huge flood of packets towards a single server. A library is basically some functions that you can call. It's a list of functions inside a single file, so that you could call it from an external source. For example, yeah, you must have all done C programming. Yes, basically a collection of resources. You all programmed in C++ and C, so you always call hash include and stdlib.h or something, and or math.h, which has a group of mathematical functions. So you can just directly import that library and make calls to the library, to the functions in the library. So it simplifies the entire process. So a library is generally standard. It's used throughout multiple programs by multiple developers. Come on, we all use stdio.h or conio.h. So if there's a problem with one library, it's going to impact everyone who uses that library. So yeah. So this is basically, I mean, this is a top level overview of a general process when it comes to computer software, developer, program, libraries, computer, network, and internet. So all I wanted to tell you was each stage is a potential target for you. I mean, if you plan on penetrating anything. You know, recently hacking has become a very famous thing. It looks cool. I do agree. I mean, it looks great in the movies, but I can tell you, what you see in the movies is completely different from what you do in real life. In movies, it's generally, you type up something and you press a button and it's hacked. But in real life, it's a bit more interesting, and it's not so fast either. So you basically have two options here. You can either learn stuff and then using that knowledge hack something, or you could just copy paste someone else's work and basically run a bunch of scripts that other people invented and call yourself a hacker. What you want to choose, you decide. Um, so basically, if you want to hack something, it's a good idea to learn about it. Um, let's say if you want to hack someone who regularly uses Facebook and a Windows laptop, you might want to do a bit of research into how Facebook works, how Windows runs, the latest vulnerabilities on Facebook and Windows, and that way, it's called the reconnaissance stage in hacking. So there are a few stages in hacking. The first one is reconnaissance. You learn about your target, you learn how they work. Try to learn as much as possible. Okay. Um, so this also could possibly come under reconnaissance. And see, these are a few tools that you may want to consider using. I believe you can see Nmap, Wireshark, Burp Suite, and
Yeah,
Burp Suite,
yeah,
Metasploit, and okay,
yeah, we
Aircrack.
can.
So you must have all heard of these tools before. Okay. So I think if you learn about these five tools, most of penetration testing will be open to you. I mean, um, like yeah, you can probably do anything with. I mean, get into penetration testing with these things. Nmap is used for scanning a device on a network. You can see what services are running on it, what operating system it runs. It tries to detect operating systems, what ports are open, and it helps you a lot. Okay. So then we've got so that's a very short overview of Nmap. Then we got Wireshark. Wireshark is a packet analyzer. So right, on the internet, everything. I mean, you on your network, you send data via packets. So you can use Wireshark to sniff at packets, as in when they send from your computer or when they're sent through the network, you can catch them and see what's inside. Um, so that way, I mean, if the connection is unencrypted, that is, of course, the green lock sign not being visible in your browser. That means you can probably use Wireshark and see the contents of those packets. So if I visit google.com and let's say 20 years ago, if I visit google.com 20 years ago, if it existed in the first place, and I typed in how to hack, and if someone was inspecting the packets, they'd probably be able to catch the packets, look inside them, and see what I searched for. This was before HTTPS, okay, before the green lock thing came. Um, then we got Burp Suite. Burp Suite is, oops, sorry. Okay. Burp Suite is basically a proxy. So have you seen developer tools in your browser? Of course you have. So a Burp Suite is a better version of the inspect element tool, as in the browser tools, of course. So you'll be able to see it's very useful for when you're testing web applications. You'll be able to see requests, responses, and they also have a vulnerability scanner. So it's very handy when you're testing web applications. Then we've got Metasploit. Metasploit is a penetration testing tool. You see, you remember me talking about the reconnaissance phase, right? Where you learn everything about a target. So once you do that, you'll be you'll know what system they're running, what applications that they use. So you'll be able to use Metasploit to create payloads. Um, you should after this presentation, I'd really like for you to try out. Maybe after today, I'd like for you to try out Metasploit with the Android payloads. You can do a lot of stuff like you can create an application that's inherently malicious, install it on your own phone, and gain full access to your smartphone, including the camera. The things that you see in the movies. But Yes, it's similar to a rat, but then yeah, you could call it a rat, I guess. But you get a shell on the mobile device that you infected. Since it takes too long, I won't be able to show that in the presentation, but you can try it out. But please do try it on your own smartphone. Then Aircrack NG. You must have heard of people searching for how to hack Wi-Fi. So Aircrack NG is very useful for hacking wireless networks. So it is a group of tools um, that includes Aerodump NG that allows you to scan for the nearby networks, uh, and a host of other tools. Basically it's focused on Wi-Fi penetration testing. Oh yes, of course. None of us here are liable for anything stupid that you do. I mean, but if you do something cool, just give us credit. But if no, otherwise, no, just fuck it us. Right. So I've been moderating a few communities, and when something in common that I noticed is people who ask a particular set of questions are typically driven out of the community. It's not very hard to guess which set of questions that is. Like, my wife is cheating on me. Please help. I want to track her. Don't ask questions like that. Ask questions like, be very objective. Like you found an issue with some kind of source code. I'd like to get further. I'd like to get more help in handling this. Or XYZ. There's an XYZ issue on um, ABC software. How do I get in um, with this method or something like that? Be very specific instead of being a very instead of being very broad. Ask very specific questions. And if you can, please Google everything before you post a question on forums. And then, most importantly, always keep learning. Look at other people's posts. Look into how their problems were solved or how they were able to penetrate something. And then learn. It's hacking is basically a learning process that never ends. Um, so if you can be a hacksaw, there's also someone else on the other side that's called law and order. So they cyber forensics is also so sometimes you may also end up on the side of law and order. You might want to find out what exactly happened on a system, what happened to it, why did it crash, or is something suspicious going on. So you can the funny thing is you can use the same tools. You can use Nmap, Wireshark, Burp Suite, Metasploit. Okay, I don't know about Metasploit, but you can use everything else for the purpose of forensics because it's all about information. It's data. Data is very important these days. So for forensics, it's basically you look at everything. You look at metadata, you look at raw data, and you also look at hidden files. An example, you must have heard of people retrieving data from USBs and hard disks. It's because of the deletion mechanism that we have on these devices is very simple. You don't exactly. Oh, okay. I'll give you a better example. How many of you have formatted the USB? You can. Okay, that's great. Is it safe to assume that? Okay, the better question would be, how many of you have not formatted your USB ever, or formatted your anything? Well, okay. It seems to me that everyone's formatted the USB. That's good. So you must have noticed two options. One is quick format, and the other one is the long form, the deep format. And usually the deep format takes too much time, so nobody really bothers to do that. So from a forensics point of view, if you use quick format, the people who analyze the USB would be really happy because when you use deep format, everything is overwritten with zeros on the USB drive, which makes recovery almost impossible. But if you use quick format, they only reset the partition tables on a USB. So which means the data stays as it is, but the USB tells itself there's no data on the USB. So yeah, so if you're able to extract the raw data out of the USB by using some utility like DD, for example. You'll be able to retrieve the data. Mm, and metadata also is also a very useful thing. Like if you have an image and if you're suspicious about it being edited, you can probably look at metadata. And if it is edited by some kind of well-known software, you'll probably be able to see a signature of that software. I can show you an example. On Linux, um, there's a you can get a tool called EXIF tool. Let me show you an example. Mm,
Yes, we can see that now.
okay, great. Um, I'm gonna go to wallpapers. So mm, so okay, you can. This is the metadata associated with the file called jaglines.png. So the EXIF standard has, there's a standard for images. So it's not a standard. Let's just call it metadata. You can get a lot of metadata from images, videos, any kind of file. So here you can see, you see that? I edited this picture with GIMP earlier, and you can see the highlighted area, GIMP. So it's pretty obvious. It has been edited. Now I can also edit this metadata and hide forensic details, but that's a topic for another day. So yeah, you can do a lot of, you can find a lot of things using metadata about a file. So moving back to my presentation. Yeah, so that's all. I mean, that's all the basics I have to cover. The rest of it is your contribution. You ask me any question, I'll try my best to answer them. I mean, um, you don't have to. I mean, you can use your mics if you want to. Feel free to ask me anything. I mean,
Yeah, Sean, actually, there's one thing I wanted to confirm.
yeah.
As in, do you have any specific resources that you think these guys could use to get started with this?
Oh, that's a very good question. Um, well,
Like, you don't have to
resources.
send right now. If you have, you could just send to me later, and I have a Telegram group with all these guys here, so
Okay,
I can let
okay.
them know.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I mean, I can send the
Go
resources
on.
later, but I can tell you right now
Yeah,
that
sure, sure. Go on, go on.
using Linux would be a good idea because it forces you to learn a lot of things about computers. Oh yes, Hack the Box is very good. I agree with that. Have you made it in, Mohammed Sabit? Oh, that's great. That's good. That's good. Oh, okay. Maybe Mohammed Sabit actually knows a lot more than me about hacking stuff, honestly.
Dude, you. Okay, sorry. I'm not supposed to say that.
Yeah, okay. Sabit, maybe you could say something about your experiences. I mean, you know, because the community is very important here. So uh,
Yeah, Sabit, unmute yourself, please. Come on.
yes, please, Sabit. But that's okay. I mean, you got
Yeah,
that far.
unmute
Even
yourself, bro. Unmute yourself. Come
yeah.
on.
Come
Hello.
on,
Yeah.
hello,
Just
hello, Sabit. It's a
yeah, as
pleasure
in
to.
your talk is what's going to be inspiring for the rest of them to start to if they're actually interested in this. Go on.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not actually into this cybersecurity or anything. Just out of curiosity, I tried. One of my friends said there is a thing called Hack the Box. Just try it. So I just know about web development. So I went there. I didn't get the key. So I inspected the page. I found that JavaScript, and uh, yeah, I run the console, For that, what was that? Some for invitation there was a method. I just run
Yes,
that
it
in the
was.
console. Yeah, I got a key that it was a sorry. I want to decrypt the key. I
Mm-hmm.
decrypted it,
Oh,
and that too was for a decryption for in root 64. I did
mm-hmm.
that yesterday night. Yeah, I got it last night. Yeah, yesterday night. That's it. Nothing
Oh,
more.
that's actually great. I mean, for your information, Hack the Box is an event where you need to hack into the event.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Actually, that's what our, like, I said our speaker will not be able to come today. He was supposed to talk about this kind of, CTF or cybersecurity events where you have to, like, hack into a certain, hack in to get your own invite. And
Mm-hmm.
once you're in each level, as you pass, you get these clues and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been really interesting. So you guys, as Mohammed Sabi just said, try it out if possible. And yeah, Sean, go on.
Yes. So what you can learn from Sabit is that he's into web development, and yet because he learns stuff, he's able to decrypt the challenge. I myself was only able to get into the competition after I started learning a bit of web development. So hacking is basically, I mean, it's a very broad field. So the more information you have about a domain, the easier it will be for you to hack into that kind of stuff. So yeah, so and hack the box can be a bit challenging for some people. So for people who want it a bit more easier, you could try hackthisite.com. I'll type it up in the chat. um it's relatively much easier because they have older vulnerabilities. So that it's basically, um they have vulnerabilities that are old and very very common. I mean, common back then, and very easy to exploit. So you could get started on hackthisite.com and then slowly move up the rungs, and maybe picoctf.com. And a side skill that may really help you would be learning to type. It takes a lot of stress out. So yeah, I'd recommend that too. um Come on, I'm kind of waiting here. You don't leave me out to dry. Ask me some questions, please.
Hey, Sean, I have a question actually.
Okay.
So, I'm Aditya.
Hello.
So, what I have, my question is basically you showed that in website there are ports open, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially the SSH and the FTP ports. But then
Mm-hmm.
still, those are password protected, right? So, how is that a vulnerability?
Okay.
Even though the
Um,
ports are open?
that's a good question. So I mentioned earlier, if a service is running, that means okay, I didn't mention this earlier. I'm sorry. Um, let's say you have a system and a service is running. So with each new service, the attack surface increases, which means let's look at SSH. Okay, maybe not SSH. Yeah, okay, SSH is fine. Let's say you have SSH and there's some kind of problem with your implementation of SSH. Let's say a weak password or weak encryption method or something. So that means it's a potential, it's something that can be exploited and makes it easier to get into the target system. It doesn't having a service doesn't mean it's doesn't mean it's going to be a vulnerability, but then it gives you a chance. I mean, there's a slight possibility. I mean, it's definitely going to increase the attack surface. That's all.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay, good. Guys, Farhat has also mentioned the site that you guys could check out in the chats.
Oh yes, that's a good site. Tryhackme.com is a bit less complex than Hack the Box.
The reason why I mentioned this is just to say that you guys should have the right motive, like Sean, and mention it to the authorities if you find the vulnerability. Aditya, now we are safe.
Yes, we are safe.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
so hacking is very exciting, and as long I mean it's a really gray area. So um, it might be a good idea to look into the local regulations before doing something risky. But it's fun. Trust me, it's fun. As long as I mean, you guys are probably below the age of 18, right?
No, we are college students. I mean, except maybe Nirvaras in here, everyone else will be 18 or above.
Okay. Okay. And, the laws change a lot after 18.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Okay, so all I wanted to say is it's exciting, and yeah. So try a lot of stuff. If you can't contain yourself, and if you really want to hack something, just uh, get permission of the owners of the website. Just if you find something, just tell them, and they'll be more than happy to, allow you test the systems.
Also, Sean, if you could mention like the bug bounty programs, so I guess many people will be interested in that as well.
About bug bounty, I can't say something that I don't really know about. So I haven't. I've looked into a few bug bounty programs, but I never really found a lot of vulnerabilities, so it is not very interesting to me. So
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
it's sour grapes, I guess.
Yeah, actually, if you guys like, am I audible? I mean, I can't even see my.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah. We can
So,
hear you. Yes.
to all the participants, if you guys really start trying out this CTFs and ethical hacking and stuff, and if you really wanna get more into bug bounty and wanna have a session on that, just mention that we do have contacts who do bug bounty for a living,
Yes.
actually. So we could
Oh,
get them to we could get them in touch with you as well. We could
And the thing is
help
that
you
they
network
are
that.
school students as well. So,
Yeah,
so
that's the fun. They're
yeah,
like 11th and 12th grade, right?
yeah. They were in 11th grade.
Yeah. So as in right now they'll be in 12th, right? I guess.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
there is also another guy in 10th who's currently doing bug bounty.
And
wow.
yeah, yeah. So like in bug
Yeah.
bounty, you basically go and uh, try to hack websites of major companies and find exploits. And they'll if you find an exploit, they'll and you report them to them, they'll reward you.
Yeah, and also in some major websites, they would have mentioned some possible bugs that they may have. And if we find it and fix it, again, for those kind of things, it will be a fixed amount that you'll be receiving. And for the ones Aditya mentioned, we basically have to rely on them. Like they will decide whether they will pay us or give us some swag instead.
So the guy we mentioned, right, who is in 11th and who does bug bounty, he got about like $3,000 for finding a small loophole in Google's. I guess it was Google Cloud. I don't remember, but he got about $3,000 for that.
Well, a lot of money to be made.
Yeah, and
So,
also I think Sean, could you say about how you got into the cybersecurity part of your company? Like initially, that was not your placement offer, right?
oh yes, about that. Well, I was not very hopeful of getting a position in cybersecurity. Well, officially, I'm not a cybersecurity analyst at my company right now, but then I'm still a trainee. But I hope to be soon. So in my resume, the only thing I had was certificates regarding cybersecurity. Like I've done courses on cybrary.com, um, and I've been to a lot of conferences. So you see, each person spends their time differently, right? Some we've got a few good web developers here, like Sabit. We've got people who are interested in AI, and when everyone was doing this, I just looked into security. So my resume was naturally filled with such stuff, and they looked at my resume, and I told them in the face, I don't know anything else. So so they were a startup company. They were very flexible, so they were kind enough to let me do what I like. So, and
Yes.
besides, security is a growing concern in our country right now. It's slowly
Yeah.
starting to become one. So yeah, so that's how I got into cybersecurity. So be very honest. Tell them what you want. This applies to any field that you want. So that's how I got into
Yeah.
cybersecurity.